Hello, and welcome back to the Misty Morrison Podcast. I'm your host, the wonderful Misty Morrison, and this is episode 8 of Petty Please. We've got some stories from pro revenge and petty revenge, but before we get started, if you like the content, be sure to give it a 5-star review if you are listening on podcast. It helps the channel grow. And if you are watching on YouTube, comment, engage with the video, like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more. All right, let's get into our stories. Story number 1 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Exchange students' host family got what they deserved. Just over 20 years ago, when I attended high school, we had a Japanese exchange student join our class. She was very lovely, kind, spoke good English, and generally a lovely person to be around. The type of girl that makes you smile when you speak to her because of her sunny disposition. I became good friends with her over the next few months, she came to my house quite a bit to have dinner with my family, and they got to know and love her like I did. After a little while, I noticed her not being her normal happy self. I put it down to the fact that she was missing her family and tried to cheer her up the best I could. One day, however, it all became too much for her, and she broke down crying in front of my mom, dad, and I. She explained that her host family were not very nice to her, and that she thought they had been stealing stuff from her room. It wasn't anything of great value that was being stolen, however. It was just the principle, and the fact that despite it being wrong, they were making her feel unsettled and sad. After all, she was supposed to trust this family. When she had asked them about the missing items, they had all laughed in her face and told her she was going crazy, and that they hadn't taken anything. The next morning, she woke up to empty chocolate wrappers pushed under her bedroom door. At first, she was confused, but then she checked her things for the chocolate she had bought to take back to her family, and realized that it was gone. Over the next few days, she replaced the chocolate, and the same thing happened. Empty wrappers were pushed under her bedroom door. This happened 4 times in total before she eventually broke down crying to me and my parents. We consoled her, and my dad told her not to worry as he had a plan. My dad left the house and returned about a half an hour later with some laxative chocolate, X-Lax, that he had been to buy at the pharmacy. He explained to my friend what it was and told her to take the chocolate that she had bought for her family out of the wrappers, then put the laxative chocolate inside the wrappers. Later that evening, she returned to her host family's house to set her plan in motion. Nothing happened that evening. The chocolate remained where it was. The same for the second night. After 3 nights, my friend woke up to see empty chocolate wrappers pushed under her bedroom door. Sure enough, someone had stolen them, but the question remained: who? This question was quickly answered when my friend saw the youngest teenage daughter of the host family rush into the bathroom and after a while come out to tell her mom that she didn't feel very well and had a tummy ache. My friend was pleased to see that the girl was in and out of the bathroom time and time again, and laughed to herself each time she saw her rushing there. She didn't expect the girl to suspect it was anything to do with the chocolate, but the amusement of seeing her punished for her crimes was enough for her. The girl didn't stop having trouble with her bowels for over 24 hours. I feel like this is classic, and the least of what that girl deserved for repeatedly stealing your chocolate. Like, what? And the fact that the whole family laughed at you suggests to me that the family knew what she was doing and thought it was funny for some weird reason. I hate it for her that she ended up with this family, like, instead of yours. Because this is just cruel. And it is like one of those little things that she's right. It's not the biggest thing, but to make her feel crazy about it is the worst part. And also, like, by repeatedly stealing the chocolate she's trying to take back to her family, you are stealing her money. You are. That's messed up. It doesn't really sound like she reported the host family for anything, but I'm glad that your family helped her get a little revenge for what they did to her. Story number 2 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. She stole my snack. I swapped it spicy. We've got a snack thief at work. Fridge is shared, so stuff goes missing sometimes, but mine kept vanishing. Always the chips, never the sandwich, never the fruit, just the snack. At first I thought maybe someone grabbed it by mistake, but it kept happening. Same brand, same time of day, and I'm 99% sure it was one specific coworker who always stayed late and forgot her lunch. So I grabbed a bag of ghost pepper chips, Packy, and emptied them into my usual chip bag. Sealed it back up nice and neat, stuck it in my lunchbox like nothing changed. Around 1 p.m., I hear this loud coughing fit in the break room, like full-on choking. Water being poured, someone trying not to die. She comes back, red-faced, watery eyes, and totally in silence. Didn't even look at me. Sat at her desk the rest of the day, not saying a word. I nearly choked on my food, trying not to laugh. Haven't lost a snack since. I mean, if you repeatedly steal someone's food, you've got to expect that they're going to retaliate. You just have to know that it's coming. And that's just, to me, like, what she was doing was just pure laziness. She didn't want to bring a snack. She didn't want to bring her lunch. Like, you can't forget your lunch that often. She was just being lazy. She didn't care what she took from anybody else. So, I mean, it does sound like she suffered, and I'm glad you did it. Story number 3 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. A kid kept kicking my sandcastle, so I built the next one with a rock. So I was about 11 or 12 at the time and on vacation. We were staying at a lake in Alberta, and it was honestly a good time. I built an amazing sandcastle. It had walls, towers, and even a drawbridge made out of driftwood. Plus, I built it on a platform made of rocks halfway into the lake, like a little island. I mean, come on. I even made decorative trees out of seaweed. Then the teenagers struck. This one kid went and kicked the sandcastle to bits, and even before I got a picture. My next sandcastle, I buried the heaviest, most jagged rock in the base. The teenager went up to it and kicked it again. Let's just say the castle lasted longer than his foot. My castles didn't get knocked down ever again. Now, as a teenager myself, I still vividly remember this event, and it makes me laugh. Don't ruin people's work, kids. Edit. By base, I meant like the bottom, middle of the castle, not under it. Edit 2. Stop commenting about seaweed. It was probably something else, but I call it seaweed because I don't know any other water plants besides maybe kelp. So I guess people were picking on OP about like where they said they put the rock and that like the kid wouldn't have kicked it. And then I guess they were commenting about the fact that he was at a lake and said he used seaweed. Whatever. I think this was perfect. The kid got what he deserved. Like, you worked so hard. Like, that sounds like the most amazing sandcastle. And he was just being a little jerk and ruining your work. And I think what you did was fair. Like, you taught him a lesson, and now he probably never kicked over anyone's sandcastle again because you don't know what's in that thing. Good job teaching him a lesson. Story number 4 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Petty revenge for my dad. When I told my dad I was pregnant at 19, he told me I am just like my sisters and wouldn't get a degree and I was a failure. Well, guess who got a degree and pursuing another? Me. So for Father's Day, I will be having my degree enlarged for him as a gift. I also will have several pics and enlargements of it for him to stare at when he's taking his fat in the morning. And the first thing he will see when he wakes up is my degree, taping it onto his ceiling. My parents have the Last Supper painting in their dining room. My dad sits in front of it, so I'll be putting another one there. And when he misses me, I'll have a mini diploma the size of an ID, to put in his wallet. Then I'll have my diploma framed on his wall in several locations. I'm an amazing daughter, I know. Since my parents are Jesus lovers, I will have someone Photoshop Jesus holding my degree as a Christmas gift. I'll make sure to gift them copies of my degree until they die. That is brutal. And seems a little excessive, maybe a little bit of overkill, but I still like it. You are not only making him eat his words, but you're making him you're making him recognize that he's wrong every single day, every room he walks into, every time he opens up his wallet. I think it's great because what he said to you was so cruel. The least you can do is like point it out to him, like, hey, remember that time you said that? Oh, look, there's the proof. You were wrong right there on the wall. I like it. It's not hurting anybody. It's actually pretty funny. Story number 5 is coming to us from r/petty revenge, the Great Wall of Red Bull. Way back in 2011, I got laid off from a publishing company that I had expected to retire from, after working there for 14-ish years. When I was marched into HR, it was explained to me that my entire department was liquidated, and I was not allowed to re-enter the work floor, and all personal effects at my desk will be safely collected and shipped to my house within 24 hours. I was known as the collector dork in the IT department, a feat, I know, and people would give me all sorts of limited edition stuff, mini statues, Funko Pops, Loot Crate items, etc. Though I never yelled at anyone for messing around at my desk, it was known not to fart around in my work area because something might inadvertently get broken, and since many things are ultra rare, nobody wanted to take that chance. Honestly, most were just dorky trinkets, but a couple years before an editor knocked over an old Star Wars BK glass from the 80s and offered to replace it, though I said not to worry about it. When they found it on eBay, it ended up costing them around $50. My favorite thing was a mountain of 16-ounce Red Bull cans, thanks to lots of double shifts and overnight projects. Instead of recycling the roughly 60 to 70 cans, we built a Red Bull wall between me and my neighbors' workstations, stacked and double-sided taped to the desk we shared. And sitting across from this stuffy HR woman, I had an epiphany. Can you guarantee that all of the collectibles will be carefully disassembled and packed in those boxes before shipment? I have a lot of rare and fragile items that I'd much rather pack myself. That's out of the question. Unfortunately, none of the employees who were let go today can go back to their workstations due to the sensitive information in the system. Okay, well, I've been meticulously collecting vintage Red Bull cans over the last 5 years and displaying them between our desks. If one gets bent or damaged while being packed up, I'll need you to find the replacement can on eBay. It would just be a lot easier to pack them myself. Some are worth more than $75 empty. She still refused. Literally 2 days later, I got 32 of 32 UPS boxes, each one the standard moving box size, and each one filled with 10 meticulously bubble-wrapped Red Bull cans, with miscellaneous desk clutter filling the gaps, as if they were headed to a museum curation. All of my other desk items were likewise wrapped, and box 1 had an inventory spreadsheet of every item from my desk down to 9 random Taco Bell sauces. I then made a video of crunching down the cans and dumping the entire box into my condo's recycling dumpster, and CC'd the entire company. I heard from a friend that still worked there that one of the warehouse managers, who I really disliked, spent almost 9 hours wrapping, inventorying, packing, and labeling every item from my desk. The company went bankrupt 2 years later and never came back. I'd like to believe I was part of why, though I know it was from years of mismanagement and a refusal to go digital. Okay, I thought it was awesome to start with when, you basically force them to individually wrap everything, label everything, even take the time to, create a spreadsheet so you knew that everything was there. I thought that in itself was great, knowing how much of their time you wasted. But when you turned around and showed them that it meant nothing and you were just being petty, and you trashed it all the Red Bull cans, I love it. I love it. That's chef's kiss. All right, story number 6 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Hotel screwed me over, so I actively discouraged tourists from booking there. I had a bad experience with a particular hotel that is part of a larger chain. They lost my reservation, couldn't give me the room I had reserved, gave me a lesser room, charged my credit card twice, and at the previous rate when the rate on that day was cheaper. I managed to get one of the charges dropped, but I am still salty about having to overpay for a crappy room. And their corporate customer service was even worse. I work in a tourist-adjacent position, and at least once a week I'm asked for recommendations about local accommodations. We have a list, and I make a point to tell them not to book at the one I loathe. I have no intention of ever stopping. Yes, it's petty, and yes, it gives me great satisfaction every time. The first comment on this one is, businesses have no idea how much ill will is costing them. I hope it is enough for them to get new management and better customer service. And truly, that's probably not going to happen because they're still making enough money. They're still making plenty of money regardless. But yeah, I feel like when you have a bad experience and you tell people about it, like warn them against a company that did not treat you right, I don't even really think that's petty. I think that is protecting other consumers from having the same shitty experience that you did. So I'm completely here for it. All right, we are moving on to Pro Revenge. Story number 7 is coming to us from r/Pro Revenge. Hurt my friend? Good luck with your education. I recognize this is long. Feel free to skip if you don't have the time or patience. Also, if this is more petty than pro, I can move it. Back in the day, before times when the internet was still a new thing with lots of potential, I was enrolled in my local junior college. A little into the semester, I moved in with my girlfriend so we could both save on rent. I will call my girlfriend Lucy for the purposes of this post. One night, Lucy says she invited a friend from one of her classes for a game night. Sounded good to me. We invited a couple of other friends, and it was a really fun night. Surprisingly, it turned out her friend, Sarah, was someone I knew from high school. We weren't close friends, but we knew each other and got along fine. After that night, Sarah was invited over pretty frequently for dinner, game nights, or to watch a movie. She even brought her boyfriend over a couple of times. I'll call him Jay. But he never quite fit in. He would be quiet and or standoffish, wouldn't engage much, and just seemed like he never wanted to be there. It was clear no one really felt comfortable having him there, but we invited him to be polite to Sarah. Fortunately, he only came over 2 or 3 times and found an excuse to refuse every other time. A month or 2 after this all started, Sarah called my girlfriend crying and asked if she could come over. Of course, we said yes. The story that was relayed was Jay was getting very upset with Sarah for coming over to our place so frequently and accusing her of cheating on him. She never clarified if he thought she was cheating with me, Lucy, or both, but any option was ridiculous and never happened. But he confronted her and started verbally assaulting her, calling her all kinds of nasty names. At one point, she tried to walk past him to leave, and he shoved her back. This caused her to trip over a coffee table, fall, and get a huge bruise on her butt and lower back. Lucy told me about the bruise, as Sarah had shown her. I didn't see it for myself. Sarah swore up and down that he had never physically assaulted her before, and she believed it was just an accident, but I was pissed. I wanted revenge. You don't mess with my friends, and you don't assault women. I wanted to beat the crap out of him, but while I'm a very big guy, I've never been in a fight and am not a violent person. But a revenge plan formed in my mind. At the time, I was working in the administration building of the school as a student employee. As part of my job, I could access anyone's student records, their fees, and their class schedule. The date was fast approaching. That was the last possible day to drop or add classes without penalty or specific permission. So I looked Jay up in the system, got his student ID number, and the other information that I needed, and put my plan into motion. On the last day to change schedules, I used the dedicated enrollment phones in the administration building. Internet class scheduling wasn't a thing that was set up yet, and canceled all of his classes. Not only that, but I went through and added every class I could find that had a course fee. If you owed a debt at the school, you couldn't get copies of your transcripts or anything else. Something that I didn't mention was that Jay was a foreign student and couldn't stay in the country if he wasn't enrolled with a certain number of units. I wish I could give more info about the fallout, but as I didn't want to get this traced back to me, I didn't tell anyone, nor did I pull up his records again for quite a while. I did get a little payoff, though. Sarah was really worried about seeing him again. She had broken up with him the night after he pushed her, as they had an English class together on Tuesdays. She said that on Tuesday he was there, but there was also someone new standing in the class. He was standing because there weren't enough seats. The teacher, seeing that there were more people than should be, held roll. And guess who wasn't on it? You're right, it was Jay. Apparently, after I dropped all his classes, someone on the wait list got in. Jay tried to argue with the teacher, but as Teach had the official class roster and Jay wasn't on it, there was nothing he could do. Sarah said she never saw Jay in that class again. I don't know much more about what happened. Lucy and I eventually broke up, so I didn't see Sarah very often after that. After a while, I did look up Jay's class schedule, and all of the classes with course fees were gone. But he didn't have any other classes on the books either. I wanted to assume he was kicked out of school, but I didn't try to confirm it. Either way, Sarah didn't have to have class with him, and while he probably deserved more, he was definitely inconvenienced and possibly kicked out of school. Sometimes I worry I was too harsh, but then I remember that he deserved it. Mess with me, but not my friends. This was great. It was really sneaky, and I'm really proud of you for having the guts to go through with it, because I would have been terrified to look him up in the system to get the information for fear of it being traced back to me. And honestly, I probably would have been so worried about like messing with his visa status or whatever. Yeah, I mean, he's lucky all he did was get his education messed up, like for the semester at least, rather than her pressing charges for what he did. I think this is good. I mean, you protected someone when you didn't even really owe it to them. You made sure that she didn't have to go through the discomfort of seeing him in that class every Tuesday. So I'm here for it. He got like the very least of what he deserved. All right, that is 7 stories for this week's episode of Petty Please. That is us done for the day. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time for another episode of the Misty Morrison Podcast. Bye.